Hey everybody, Dave Floss here from Mentally Unbalanced. For today's short vid clip, we're going to be talking about a great series of manga. I think it's manga. Well, whether you call it manga or manga, we're going to be talking about Claymore the series. So stick around to learn more. Welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite series, Claymore. Now Claymore originated as a manga series and then came out later with anime series to coincide with it. We're going to talk about both of them in just a moment. But before we begin, what is Claymore? So Claymore is a manga series that came out from Shonen Jump in the 90s. And it really centralized around a main character named Claire. Now, what I really like about Claymore, and there's so much anime and manga out there, so what is it about Claymore particularly that made me decide I wanted to make a video about it? Well, for me, ultimately, it came down to the characters. The character in this is named Claire, and she is a Claymore. And what a Claymore is basically are these warrior hunter women, specifically bred, right? I don't want to give too much away, right? No major spoilers, but bred to hunt down these horrible creatures called Yoma. And these Yoma are basically these horrible, vicious, murderous type of creatures. But what makes them interesting is that they can assume the form of other humans. So it's kind of like they could be in your town and you don't even know it. They can even assume specific identities. So I could be a Yoma right now. But I'm not, so we'll just continue. So these white-eyed witches go out and hunt down these Yoma, and it centralizes around this character named Claire. And what makes it, again, I think really unique and interesting is that really the entire series is a hero's journey. Somebody who starts out and you're not entirely sure what the driving focus is for them. You start to learn what that focus is, and the overall story arc of this character really progresses throughout the entire series. And ultimately, it comes to a conclusion, which is another thing I really like about the series, is that it has an ending, right? We get to watch this journey, but we get to feel some sense of satisfaction at the end as we see the culmination of the hero's journey. Now, I'm not going to give too much away. I can't tell you how things go, but I'll talk a little bit about the manga series, and then we'll also talk a little bit about the anime series. So let's start with the manga. So I have here this beautiful collector set, which is the entire manga series of Claymore, all in one set. So of course you could get them individually, you could buy the set, but I'm going to focus on the set right now because the one thing it does illustrate really nice is that it is 27 volumes, which is the entire series of the Claymore series. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the manga itself. First of all, really nicely illustrated. If you've read manga before, I don't think you're going to feel or see any surprises here. Nicely illustrated. This is an English version, which is obviously nice for those of us who don't read or speak Japanese or other languages. And it really, like I said, it's a very linear type of story. But what's nice about it, it gives lots of background, and as you progress through the series, there's a lot of moments you're like, ooh, that's kind of interesting. Are they going to go any further with it? And in most cases they do, right? You get a lot of the backstories. Where did the Claymores come from? Why are they all women? What's the root of the Yoma? Where do they come from? And of course it's mixed with these beautiful epic battles, right? And these beautifully illustrated battles that are taking place as the nature of the Yoma and the organizations behind what's going on with the Claymore really culminates into a pretty big and epic conclusion. Now, if we switch gears for just a moment, we're going to go over now to the anime. Now, the anime, all I can say is beautiful. It's beautifully animated. The voice acting is really pretty superb.
A winged Yoma.
Of course, with almost any anime, you're going to have that one voice. And I like to call it the high-pitched, annoying voice. This has it because I guess it's like a staple of any anime that you have to have one particular character that every time you hear them speak, just kind of, oh, wow.
Claire. Don't go. Claire, don't! Claire, don't! Claire, don't! Claire, don't!
They really decided to punch it up to 11 for that particular character. But the good news is it's not a lot and it's not really constant, which is good. There's some anime, to be perfectly honest, I really have a hard time watching because the voice acting is so over the top that it really detracts from the material. You don't have that too much with Claymore. So beautifully animated, and it really follows the storyline laid out within the manga, which is another unique thing. A lot of times when they decide to do an animated, they use the core materials, but then they decide where they're going to go, maybe change up the plot lines a little bit, and really, other than some subtle differences, the anime series really coincides with the manga series really, really well. So if you've read the manga, you won't be disappointed here, and vice versa. If you've watched it, really no loss in going back because you're only going to get more filler material, but the same core story arc, which I think is really excellent. Now, the other interesting thing about the anime series is that the anime series really only goes through half of the manga series. So they animated up to a certain point, and then for whatever reason decided, well, that's our stopping off point. So what I found really interesting is that as much as I enjoyed watching the entire anime series, and the anime series does still kind of close off with leaving it open-ended, but not so much where it's like it's a drop-off cliffhanger and you're like, great, now I've got nothing. It's kind of like, well, they reached a good part of the story and progression and then decided to stop it there. What's great about it, though, is that you can almost literally pick up the next volume in the series that comes right after the last episode and continue the storyline all the way to the end. So whether or not you've watched it and you want to go and read the first half, which coincides, and then finish it, or just pick up the next volume and continue from there, you really can almost interchange between the anime and the actual the manga series. So I highly recommend it because ultimately this is just a pleasure to watch. Whether you're really into manga or not, whether you want to open up the book or not, you will not be disappointed, or I wasn't disappointed, just enjoying the series. And it was actually years later, that I decided, you know what? I found a really good price to be able to get the entire complete set of the manga series. And I picked it up and I was able to read, and I wasn't disappointed seeing how the story actually did progress all the way to the absolute final conclusion of the manga series. So both of them ultimately went really well together and were really enjoyable. If you have any questions about Claymore, feel free to post them on our Facebook page, or you can post them right in the comments section of YouTube. And in fact, right now, if you want to learn more about Claymore or about the other reviews, including our Mentally Unbalanced podcast coming later this month, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right at the bottom of your screen right now. Until then, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.